Good evening, and thank you, and welcome everyone for joining us and like our very fall presence making an entrance today. We hope that you all are well. We know that over a year and a half, we've all been through a lot, and so we really are delighted that you are taking the time to be with us today. My name is Kalila Worley Billy. I'm the interim president of Healthy Lakewood Foundation. And we really are grateful for you all coming here. We have a really concise but yet impactful agenda, and we thank you again. In addition to that, we like to stay in our tradition, being a healthy organization and foundation. We want to stay true to the things that get us balanced and focused. And so our fellow board member, Chitra, will walk us through a very brief breathing exercise to help get us focused and to get focused for this meeting. Thank you, Chitra. I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. And as Khalida said, in tradition, we will do what we are calling a mindful breathing meditation. Mindfulness is cultivating awareness of your experience in the present moment, living each moment as fully as possible. Meditation is paying attention on purpose in the present moment. And our resource that we are going to use for this is breathing. Breath is the life force. Inhaling brings oxygen, exhaling releases waste, and rhythmic breathing balances our nervous system. So find a comfortable position as you sit. Make sure your head, neck, and spine are aligned. Uncross your legs and let your hands rest quietly in your lap or by your sides. This meditation is an adaptation of one that was taught by a very famous Vietnamese monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. And it begins with just simple breathing. Breathing in through your nostrils, breathing out, feeling the breath as it leaves your nostrils, keeping your awareness lightly and gently on your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. If thoughts come in, as they always do, acknowledge the thoughts without judgment and let them go. Let them drift away. Bring your awareness back to your breath, back to your breathing, back to the present moment. Breathe in. I know I am breathing in. Breathe out. I know I am breathing out. Let your full awareness be on the breath as it comes in and as it goes out. When you bring your awareness to the breath in this way, you are connecting the mind and the body in the present moment. The word for breath, prana, is the word for spirit in many languages, and it is the same. So bringing your awareness to your breath connects mind, body, and spirit in the present moment. Breathe in. Breathe out. Watch as the brief pause at the turning point as the out breath becomes in breath. aware of your steady, familiar rhythm of your breath. As we bring this meditation to an end, keeping your eyes closed for just a little while longer, take a moment to notice how you are feeling, your body, your mind, and your spirit. Be quiet, breathe, and bring yourself back into balance. So slowly come back into the room, aware of your body in your chair, opening your eyes whenever you are ready. Welcome, and I turn it back to Roland.
Thank you, Chitra, and thank you to all of you for participating in that breathing exercise. I want to spend some time talking about the purpose of this meeting. Why are we holding this meeting? Well, it's an annual meeting that's codified in our Code of Regulations, and we take the event very seriously. It's a time for the board to present its progress from the past year. It's a time to provide updates on future grant making, future opportunities, and future collaboration. We also seek community feedback, which we will have time for at the end of this meeting. But it's also a time when we engage and integrate more in the community. So let me go over the agenda. Let me review the agenda. And tonight it's a full one, and we have a lot to share in an hour. We want to provide you an overview of the year and share our grant making in 2021. We want to introduce our new terrific executive director, Kate Ingersoll. We want to share updates from our committees on their work. And we want to share some brief videos that highlight 4 of our magnificent grantees and their work over the past year. These will be interspersed throughout the meeting. Then we want to share our plans for the year ahead and close with a gratitude practice. The HLF executive committee members will hold an optional question and answer and comment session for 15 minutes after the formal presentation. We hope this will give you a great overview of our work and show you that we are acting in the best interests and the good heart of the Lakewood community. Kalila?
Thank you, Roland. I want to start off this evening talking about some really important people who helped shape the Healthy Lakewood Foundation. First, we want to acknowledge our former HLF board president, Janine Gergel. She has really been a key and pivotal component in terms of helping to establish our Healthy Lakewood Foundation board, not only as our inaugural president, but also in terms of our serving on the task force. Janine's experience on the board, her expertise has been fundamental in the way that we were able to make an impact during one of the most significant moments in our time during COVID. We made some really significant grants based on her relationships, as well as in addition to the work that she knew on the ground. We are grateful for all that Janine has contributed to the HLF and Lakewood community through her volunteer and civic engagement efforts. We also wanted to acknowledge Lacey Hoffman, who's on this call, and we appreciate Lacey being able to join us tonight. We express gratitude to Lacey, who served HLF for over a year and a half as our foundation coordinator. Lacey was the foundation's first employee, and she was instrumental in advancing the work of the board, creating and improving processes, expanding our outreach and social media efforts, and generally making everything run smoothly, all in 10 hours per week. We wish her every success in her new role with Candid. Thank you so very much, Lacey. In addition, we also want to introduce, many of you may have seen emails or social media posts regarding our new executive director. Kate Ingersoll has taken the role of the executive director position of this foundation. We want to thank all the following board members who served on our hiring task force for their dedicated efforts to the process: Tricia Walker, Melissa Fetterman, Heidi Hilty, Peter Kuhn, and Sharonda Watley. Kate served as the inaugural HLF board member and as the board secretary. She stepped down from the board at the end of June to assume the executive director role. She has been a Lakewood resident for over 12 years, and we are pleased at the work that we know she has done and the work she's doing and the work she will do in the future. We thank you, Kate, for your dedicated service to the foundation as well as to the Lakewood community. And I turn it over to you, Kate.
Thanks so much, Kalila. It's such a pleasure to be with everyone here tonight, and I am so excited and honored to be serving the board and the community in this role. HLF's work is to be a community partner and advocate for Lakewood. We have collective work that needs to be done as our community is facing challenges that are varied and complex. No one organization can address or solve them independently, and I've been empowered by the board to approach this role as a collaborator. I will work to build authentic relationships in the community that transcend power dynamics that are often inherent in conventional philanthropic practices. And I really encourage you to reach out to me with questions, ideas, and feedback at any time. My email is info@healthylakewoodfoundation.org. And if you see me out in the community, please say hello, and I will certainly do the same. I'm going to turn it on over to Courtney Noster now, and she is actually going to help give us a little bit of a year in review, just to talk about what this year has been for our community and for the people in it. So Courtney, I'll turn it on over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Kate. I'm Courtney Noster. I am first a daughter, a sister, and a friend. I'm a nature lover, a lover of Lakewood. And I have spent the last year and a half as a telehealth therapist unexpectedly. I do work as a mental health therapist at Ebb and Flow Counseling that operates out of Lakewood, right on Madison Avenue. Be a therapist. I feel really privileged to have been on the front lines of humanity, seeing kind of the on the ground impact, what was happening with clients I had already been working with, what was happening with new clients presenting for the first time to manage all kinds of experiences of anxiety in response to a collective trauma that we've all walked through this year. Before I kind of chat just briefly about kind of the impact and what I've noticed and how this has moved in this world for us, I just wanted to just point out that today is the fall equinox, and just orient that conversation from that place that this is a perfect point of balance on our journey through time, where night and day are in perfect equilibrium. And other symbolism around the fall equinox, celebrating the fruits of our labor, looking back on the harvest, reaping what we've sown. And it's also a time to start preparing us for rest, reflection, and peace as well. So it's a really wonderful time to be celebrating, right? These shared successes in rapidly adapting to change, which has really been the theme for HLF this year. And I would imagine most of us would raise our hand if we said we had to do something this year that we didn't expect to do, that we couldn't have forecasted in our wildest imaginations. So of course, I want to address that this year has brought us unexpected pain, fear, lots of unknowns, potential divisions across a lot of lines. And that in that change and in welcoming pain and really having to sit with it, not being able to outrun it, like many of us get pretty good at doing in our everyday, we've had to let grief in. We've had to let change happen. We haven't had a choice. And then the work that I do with my clients, the most impactful things that we can do with our pain is to let it change us, to let it have some kind of impact, to have it create an adjustment, to have us evolve, grow, do something different. And in doing that, we're strengthened. We're strengthened by our survival. And I don't want to be toxically positive and only focus there, but I think really the only reasonable option in times like this is hope. It's in fact what brought us to the place where we could assume that we'll get out of this and we'll carry on into something more hopeful. So I really wanted to just honor our grief and our grieving, honor the folks that have walked the path of losing a loved one to COVID, which has been my experience and has been radically transforming for me this year. So just wanted to create a moment to honor the people that have fallen and have died as a result of COVID, and a way to, honor the grief and the pain of this year and all the things that have changed. And I also want to just remind us a little bit about how this year slowed us down and asked us to go within, come back into our homes, into our families, asked us to return to nature, to the simple things in life, and honor that as a theme that I would like for us to continue on in, and kind of centering things with simplicity and ease, and not pushing ourselves to do more and more and more. I think that's also a fall equinox lesson that this year has brought me, and certainly many of the folks that I've been working with. So honoring that it hasn't been easy, but there's been triumphs, that the best of humanity is always on display in these moments of difficulty in the collective, and perhaps honoring the uniting experience that this is maybe the first time, at least in my generation as a millennial, that the whole world has had to do something together, that the whole world has been experiencing the exact same thing, kind of honoring the power that's behind that, as well as the difficulties that we see that HLF and our partners have set out on the ground to take good care of. So again, I think the only reasonable option here is hope. And as a board, we continue finding hope and inspiration in the work that our community partners are doing, that community members are doing in Lakewood, to provide support, to provide care, compassion in these very auspicious times. So let's get to the good part. Let's take some time to learn a little bit more about the work that HLF has been doing in partnership with these wonderful community grantees that we are going to get to know tonight. So we're going to share 4 videos tonight that feature each one of our grant partners that responded to meet an array of needs and continue to provide during the pandemic, even as it's continuing into the present. Our deepest intention is to highlight the challenges and the opportunities that have come from their response efforts. And the first video we're going to look at highlights our conversation with Trish Rooney, the Executive Director of the Lakewood Community Services Center. And then after this video, we'll get a chance to hear from an HLF board member and my good friend, Sharonda Watley. So we'll turn it over to the video.
Our mission is to provide basic needs assistance to move people towards self-sufficiency, and food is a big part of our services. Obviously, COVID changed the way we do everything. We went from walk-in to drive-through, and we'd never done it before. We really had, quite frankly, no idea what we were doing. It was a remarkable response, if I don't say so myself, and it's nothing to do with me, it's everything to do with the staff. Of course, we were feeding so many people. We were doing over 3,000 coming through, and they were coming from 41 zip codes. And then it became clear that we couldn't sustain it. In the beginning, at the very start of the pandemic, the government stepped up in a very big way. And then just everything stopped. We don't have that kind of funding. At the end of August, we would stop doing the drive-through walk-up and convert to 100% delivery, which that was a very unusual move. And it took time. So we have 2 full-time drivers, and they deliver to Lakewood, Rocky River, and Westlake because they've established routes, they've got rapport with the clients. It's working really, really well. The money from Healthy Lakewood was all used for food. We made sure that seniors got healthier food. It was so important that people were able to get fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, at a time when everybody's so fragile and so stressed and so worried. And the other really great thing we did, we used the money from the Healthy Lakewood Foundation to provide child-friendly food. We also worked with a couple small businesses in Lakewood, so it helped the small businesses who were really suffering as well. They created little microwavable individual meals so that a harassed, stressed out mom could pop a couple lunches in the microwave. It's been really great, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without the support from your foundation. It shored us up when people were really, really struggling and so worried. There were so many unknowns, so it was wonderful. And everybody went through a pretty traumatic time when we sort of sat back and said, now what? But the plus is, we're working better than we ever have. We're smarter, we're more responsive. This whole chaotic mess has sort of lifted up it's improved the level of services. And I think if we can continue that, that'll be really exciting. So I'm very excited about that potential.
My name is Sharonda Watley, and I am a member of the Healthy Lakewood Foundation, serving as part of the Learning, Evaluation, and Assessment Subcommittee. When the pandemic began, the board recognized immediately that it needed to pivot away from implementing a formal grant-making process and fund responsibly to address the immediate and most pressing needs of the community members stemming from the pandemic. Thus far, in 2021, we have granted just over $150,000. Our grants are listed on the screen. While we were only able to do interviews with a subset of our grantees, the work of all partners is notable, and I will highlight the following. The YMCA of Greater Cleveland pivoted to adapt to the needs of working families during the pandemic and provided comprehensive childcare during remote learning to 33 Lakewood students. Over the past 5 months, the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland has handled 69 cases for Lakewood residents, impacting a total of 127 people. Legal Aid predicts that they will be able to double their impact in Lakewood compared to recent years. The Barton Center successfully tested a pilot project with 25 seniors to bring devices, connectivity, and technology training to residents at the Westerly to address isolation experienced during the pandemic. The Lakewood City Schools created a coordinated care project so that staff in the schools have access to resources to address immediate needs for families struggling to secure food, transportation, clothing, and other basic needs. Ohio Guidestone now has an additional mental health staff member providing wraparound mental health services in 4 Lakewood City schools through 2021. Lastly, a few final thoughts on COVID funding. Our commitment in 2021 is to continue our COVID rapid response grant making strategy. These organizations and their leaders have given us a lot of grace as we've developed our processes for rapid response funding. These partnerships have been invaluable to our learning. We are grateful when community partners, residents, and leaders are willing to talk with us and teach us about the needs in our community. We seek to continue building these types of relationships, and encourage organizations that would like to discuss funding, potential funding opportunities to reach out to Kate during the remainder of this year. We will now have another video conversation. Thank you.
Asian Services in Action, we abbreviate it as ASIA. We are a nonprofit organization that serves immigrants and refugees who are newly arrived in Northeast Ohio. On the healthcare side of things, we provide refugee health screening for new arrivals. And on the social services side of things, we provide everything in terms of basic needs. We have an emergency food pantry, employment assistance, housing, language access services, just a whole host of support services for the newly arrived community. For the AAPI community, the COVID pandemic has been not just a single pandemic, it's been a dual pandemic. Not only have we been encountering the challenges of addressing the COVID-19 itself, but the community members have also faced a huge backlash in terms of anti-Asian hostilities. Because the community that we serve is faced with both cultural and linguistic challenges. We've had to ensure that the information that the community received about COVID was accurate and reliable. As we're seeing that the pandemic is not going to be over anytime soon, so we are going to have to continue to deliver our information in language to the community members so that they can be aware of any upcoming COVID restrictions or COVID precautions, as well as access to the COVID vaccine. At Asian Services in Action, we encountered so many clients coming to us from the Lakewood community in need of food, in need of personal protective equipment, and Healthy Lakewood Foundation really came through for us with providing resources so that we could provide those supplies and food, those essentials for the community at the very beginning of the pandemic. The community could not thrive or even survive during the pandemic with their physical health if their social needs were not met. Everyone in the United States, including Lakewood, Ohio, we are all ambassadors for the United States to the rest of the world. So I would ask the community at large, including Lakewood, Ohio, to show the world that we are a welcoming place, be ambassadors, so that those who are new to this country feel welcomed, that they feel like they belong here. Honestly, it doesn't cost anything to smile. And the dividends from a smile are tremendous.
Thank you. Really are appreciative these moments where we get to reflect, but also just get a reminder how important this time period has been for so many of us. We're now going to move into our committee reports. For a long time, our Healthy Lakewood Foundation was strictly volunteer. We were a working board conducting the majority of the work on a volunteer basis. Each committee will provide a brief update on the highlights of their work. And I'm going to hand it over to Heidi, and then we will move according to, as you see on the screen, with the other committee reports. Heidi.
Good evening. I'm Heidi Hilty. Thank you again for joining us. The Finance Committee is comprised of 4 board members: Kurt Broski, Melissa Fetterman, our chairperson and treasurer, Peter Kuhn, and me. We've had a busy and productive year that includes the following efforts. We hired Huntington Bank as an investment advisor and worked with them to adopt an investment policy that encompasses ESG, environmental, social, and governance. We hired Lasky Costello CPAs to prepare our books. We continue to employ Raleigh Standish and the H&J Certified Public Accountants to prepare our tax returns, copies of which are on the website. This year through August, we've received $547,493 in support. We've earned $406,470 of investment return. We've had $92,357 in expenses. As Sharonda told you, we've awarded $150,038 in grants. And our fund balance through August 31st is $14,866,871. Since Healthy Lakewood Foundation inception, again through August 31st, we've received $14,264,674 in support, primarily from Lakewood Hospital Association and the Cleveland Clinic. We've earned $1,445,787 of investment return and had $339,052 in administrative expenses, which includes custodial and investment advisory fees. We've awarded a total of $484,538 in grants into the Lakewood community. The committee looks forward to continuing our work on the board and with the community. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Kirsten Creation for the Governance Committee update. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Heidi. Appreciate that. And thank you all for being with us tonight. It's so great to see so many friends and folks who've decided to spend their time with us tonight. So wanted to give a quick update from the governance committee. In March, we nominated co-vice presidents, a treasurer and secretary to the board. Kalila Worley Billy has stepped up from her vice president role, and we're very grateful. She's serving as interim president until March of 2022. Also thankful to Becca Boss, who's been appointed to serve as the secretary of the board. And Dr. Fred Jorgensen, he's been appointed by the Cleveland Clinic. He serves as one of our 2 Cleveland Clinic board appointees. Dr. Jorgensen is a family medicine doctor. He practices out of the Lakewood Family Health Center, oversees the clinic's family medicine residency program, and he's also a Lakewood resident. So Dr. Jorgensen replaces Dr. Chuck Garvin, who recently earned a well-deserved retirement from Cleveland Clinic, and we're very happy that he will continue to serve on the board as a community member. So we actually have one open position on the board, and we're going to be holding an open application process at the end of this year and into early 2022. With the intention of appointing that new community member at our annual meeting in March of 2022. So we definitely encourage all of you, if this is of interest, or if you know somebody who would be a good candidate, to keep your eyes peeled on our communications as we share more information about that later this year. So with that, I'll turn it over to Becca Boss. She's going to give an update for the Community Engagement Committee.
Good evening, everyone, and I'll just echo the gratitude for all of you spending time with us tonight. It's my privilege to serve on the Community Engagement Committee along with Kalila, Courtney, and Rick. We had this wonderful idea 2 years ago when we really got into all of this, that community engagement was going to be all about being out in the community and getting to really know and learn about the needs from the people who live in our community. And as it's turned out, we've had to leverage social media and traditional media and every other kind of virtual outreach. But now that we've got Kate on board, we'll continue to expand those efforts. So please do follow us on Facebook and Twitter. One of the things that we've accomplished that we're really proud of in the last year is to formalize our community outreach, engagement, and accountability plan. So you can see this on our website if you go to our homepage and scroll to the bottom. Read a little bit more about this framework that we'll be using and applying as we design more formal and informal outreach efforts. And as this will kind of come in as part of our outreach for our grant making initiatives as we pivot away from our COVID-19 crisis response to a more formal grant making process in the future, because we recognize that the needs and the voices of our community are going to be really vital to help guide that work. We were really excited to be part of the recent community festival at Madison Park. So that was one of our rare in-person outreach opportunities. And if you had a chance to stop by our table and say hello, thank you for doing so. Hopefully you picked up your COVID-19 vaccine card holder. And if you need a way to protect your COVID-19 vaccine card, please come see us at the next event, because we'll be handing those out for quite a while. But I think it's sort of a great way to reinforce how important it is to protect each other and our community. We'll also be taking an active role in the community health needs assessment that's underway with the city. And we're looking at this as a really wonderful opportunity for collaboration with 3 Arches, with the city of Lakewood, and with some of the other local organizations. We're focusing on a deeper understanding of the needs of our community in a more formal way. And then this will be really critical to informing our grant making processes moving forward, as well as we think about how we take our understanding of what those needs are and then invest the Healthy Lakewood Foundation assets in the actionable programs and processes and policies that can help reinforce health and well-being in our community. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Sharonda, who's going to share with us about the Learning, Evaluation, and Assessment Committee.
Hello again. So I am joined on the Learning, Evaluation, and Assessment Subcommittee by Dr. Judy Welsh, Chitra Walker, and Erin Ration Murphy. So over the past year or so, we've been really refining the work of the committee and developing a framework for collecting qualitative and quantitative data from our grantees. We've also initiated board training on equitable evaluation practices And we've established relationships with our funders to learn from their best practices and other models of evaluation. And now we will have another video conversation. Thank you.
The most critical work of human services is the actual work that is provided through the department, which is primarily to enhance and to strengthen well-being and health for everyone in our community. That said, it is probably important to recognize that a good amount of our work is to meet the needs of those individuals who may be vulnerable. In March of 2020, there were so many immediate needs and concerns that quite honestly, we thought were going to be short term. And very quickly, as we all know, that isn't what happened. So we moved from a congregate meal at 2 sites, a hot congregate meal every single day. All of those meals moved to home delivered meals. We worked with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank and they were wonderful and many distributions. As we were delivering frozen food, we also were keenly aware of the fact that we needed to provide opportunities for seniors to have more access to produce, to food that was not as prepared. The Healthy Lakewood Foundation provided all of the resources for those additional opportunities. Our staff created opportunities for arts and crafts. We became a virtual and mobile department that added a lot of technology, but also quite honestly, did a whole lot of old-fashioned phone calls. We started doing well checks because we had a whole lot of people who did not have the technology or were not comfortable with it. And it was staggering the number of individuals who said to me, boy, I really looked forward to that phone call. We did some major gift card distributions to our families and children. We worked with the schools, and the schools were thrilled to have this opportunity to enhance the summer food programs that they were trying to put together. It made all the difference. And I have to tell you, the leaders in this community, I think, did a remarkable job. It's important for us to be a convener, an entity that pulls organizations and community members together. So whether it was the YMCA or all the child care centers or the school system or the food service component of the school system, we needed to work together. We were not looking for a big miracle, we were looking for multiple small miracles. And Healthy Lakewood Foundation helped facilitate so many of those. We can't do this alone. And when I say we, I don't just mean the Department of Human Services. I mean our community. But when it comes down to helping each other and being there for each other, people of Lakewood are really good at that.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the year ahead, and we've already mentioned some of these initiatives, and I'll just reiterate them and give you a sense of what we're looking forward to. And Courtney mentioned before, and I hope at least that you hear the theme of hope running through this meeting, and we look forward to what we can accomplish together in this year ahead, despite the challenges that we've all been facing. Becca mentioned that HLF will be serving on the City of Lakewood's Community Health Needs Assessment Steering Committee, along with 3 Arches and with the city. And we're incredibly grateful for the opportunity to participate in a community-focused health assessment that will be primarily focused on social determinants of health. And the learning from this assessment process will further inform our grant making and our analysis. As has been mentioned before, we will continue our COVID rapid response grant funding for the remainder of this year in 2021. So please reach out to me with questions and ideas about this funding. I'm really open to having these conversations. In 2022, we will switch to the grant making model developed in our strategic planning process that actually was completed right in February of 2020, right before the pandemic started. And our communications and information about grant opportunities will be shared openly and clearly with the community. We will advance our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion in both our internal and external operations, and we will continue to seek coalitions and other opportunities to work with community groups. We will also formalize our physical presence in the community by attending more community events and activities. And hopefully by the end of 2022, we will have a physical office in the community where you can find and interact with us. We're now going to watch our final grant partner interview of the evening. And this is a conversation with Allison Urbanek of Lakewood Alive.
Our mission is to foster and sustain vibrant neighborhoods. We are a community-focused organization that really works to provide a great place to live, work, and play. We believe that if folks are prepped, educated, and provided proper resources, they will be able to have ultimately the best and healthiest place to call home. What would Lakewood be without these amazing houses and also the amazing people who live in them? Let's take ourselves back to March of 2020. Doors were closing and no one knew what to do. Lakewood Alive knew that they had to reach out to our clients. So our primary focus at that time was to reach out and say, hi, we're here, how are you? What do you need? Then our next focus was to figure out how to take our services, which are primarily in person, and deliver them to people. The calls kept coming, whether it was, we can't get to the grocery store, we don't know how to make vaccine appointments. And just to remind you, we have a housing outreach program. Our job is housing, but we couldn't say, sorry, we don't do that. So we really stepped out of our comfort zone and connected people to the folks who were doing those things, or found a way for us to try to kind of band-aid something together to make things work. So it really just felt like we were knocking that ball out of the park because we were just really helping people feel connected again. And that was something that we've all, strived for throughout this whole thing, is being connected. The support from the Healthy Lakewood Foundation really helped Lakewood Alive, and it came at a time of uncertainty. Knowing that we had the support from the Healthy Lakewood Foundation allowed us to focus on the important parts, which were our clients, and ensuring healthy and safe housing, and not have to worry immediately how we were going to fill those gaps. And it made a world of difference. At a time where people needed to feel connected, we were able to be fully staffed there and helping, lending that helping hand, having that calm, sturdy voice that people needed to hear to know and help them get through to the next stage. A year ago, we would have thought the changes that we were having would be temporary, but there is no normal anymore. But I have to say that the silver lining of all of it is that it's forcing us to think outside the box and to be creative. And the support that we are getting from foundations that understand that flexibility and being nimble and also being there and being supportive is so helpful to nonprofits like ours. Lakewood is special. Lakewood is people. Lakewood is community. People just come around and support one another, and it really shines through. It just keeps getting better and better because the people are what make Lakewood so great. So I guess I would like people to know that Lakewood's an amazing place.
Whether expressed in a note, a word of thanks, or a journal, practicing gratitude has profound impacts, as we know, from better sleep to lower levels of inflammation, less depression, and lower blood pressure. I'm Melissa Fetterman. I'm also an inaugural board member of the Healthy Lakewood Foundation. And on behalf of the board, I want to express our gratitude for your time with us here tonight. At the Healthy Lakewood Foundation, we are grateful for the range of people taking care of one another in this community, from our grantee partners to our healthcare workers, to those who took a meal to another and masked up. All of these actions, big and small, demonstrate how we care for each other and what we can do as a community to help one another in times of crisis and need. Through our existing infrastructure, our creativity, and our community members' willingness to step in and step up, for many, crises were averted, people stayed healthy or recovered, and we grew our resilience while seeing more of what is possible as a community. I now thank Becca and Chitra as we turn our program to them for a collective gratitude practice.
So as our meeting is drawing to an end, we thought about how if we had been able to meet all together, that this would be the point in time where we would make new connections, where we would reflect together on what we had learned, or the thoughts that popped into our heads, or the things that what we just heard about reminded us of that happened in our own lives. And so what we'd like to do is to invite you to share some of those thoughts and those ideas, whether it's a comment or a word that reflects gratitude, or is just a reflection, or it maybe is an expression of hope, or it's a question that you have or something that makes you wonder. What we'd like to invite you to do, and I'm going to ask you to listen to the whole thing before you do anything. We're going to have you put these in the chat box, but we don't want them to trickle in like the pitter patter of rain. We want that thunderstorm of that explosion of all of these thoughts and ideas at the same time, kind of like the rain that came in sideways today. And so if you could start to think about what that might be and what you'd like to put into the chat box, but do not hit send yet. Make sure that it's going to go to everyone. And so if you can think about that for just a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Chitra for a second here. And then when it comes back to me, I'll give us about 15 seconds or so to finish our thoughts and give us a countdown so we can all hit send at the same time. And we'll see that wonderful emergence of all of those thoughts and ideas. So Chitra, the floor is yours.
This has been a wonderful hour of being together. And as we think about the words that we're going to put into the chat, want us to pause and think intentionally about what we have just experienced. So once more, I ask you to calm your breath. Breathe in slowly and breathe out. As we feel the gratitude for this experience, albeit virtual, of being together. Gratitude for your presence, all of you who have joined us this evening, for your energy that you have shared during this time together, for the incredible work that has been done by the organizations that we saw in those videos. Let us pause and remember this year plus that we've all been through, but we've shared together. And look towards the future, our shared purpose, which is the health of our community here in Lakewood. I feel gratitude for what has been accomplished thus far through the work of so many in this community. Breathe in. And breathe out. Thank you again.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Chitra. Okay, we'll take about another 15 seconds to add your thoughts into the chat. And again, make sure your chat is going to everyone. And then I'll give us a countdown from 5. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm sorry, that kind of like took my breath away. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna read us out with just a few of these and then hand it over to Kalila, and we will find a way to capture these so everyone can kind of come back and maybe contemplate over them. So grateful from Anita, so grateful for all of you and the incredible work. So thank you, Anita, for being here with us tonight. And how fantastic, Elaine, and all of your work and bringing community really to the forefront. A healthy dose of gratitude indeed from Vince, and good to see you, Vince. Separately together, how wonderful. Yes, that's a really good reframing, Audrey. We appreciate that. We appreciate Ken's recognition. Congrats on our great start. The future is brighter because of your work. And we know how important it is to have all of you be part of that work, to be standing at our sides to help us learn and inform as we move forward. Catherine recognizes the safe and caring community that we all live in. Roland acknowledging friends, family, and health, and how intertwined all of those are, and the connections from Kirsten. Courtney, I probably can't get through what you wrote without a little getting a little choked up. So I'll just leave it up so that everybody can read through that. And our amazing grantees, absolutely, Melissa, thank you for highlighting that. Carla sharing with us how grateful for the opportunity to view the video segments. And we had this incredible videographer. And Kate, can you please remember what was our videographer's name?
Yes, Mike Pella. He has been just incredible and it's offered so much time and energy. He's one of a great Lakewood champion. And so his efforts were really out of love.
We're so grateful to him for being able to help highlight the work of our grantees. And I love how Lynn refers to us as a living organization, and that's really something that we aspire to together. And we acknowledge how much evolution and transformation is still coming in the future. So thanks to all of you for being with us here tonight. I am now going to hand it over to Kalila, who's going to take us down the home stretch.
Thank you, Becca, and thank you, Chitra, once again for us thinking through our gratitude. We also want to remind you, if you have any questions, you can put that in the chat. If you're not able to send that to Becca directly, you can just put it in the chat and Becca will see it as well. We have some final thank yous that we want to share tonight before we conclude. Tony Gelsomino, Trish Rooney, Elaine Sau, Allison Urbanek, for taking time for speaking with us for the video conversations. And I apologize if I mispronounced any of your names. As someone named Kalila, name pronunciation is important. So I apologize if I mispronounced anyone's name tonight. Another big thank you to Mike Pella of Fuzzy Logic Production for all the time he put into creating these videos for us. Mike is an enthusiastic Lakewood resident, and his love in Lakewood came through in his work for this project. If you see him, if you know him, share your gratitude and share your thoughts of his work this evening. Thank you to Susan Schetzel of Corman, Jackson, and Krantz, who provides legal counsel and guidance to the board. It is definitely not something that we do sporadically all the time, but when we do it, Susan definitely comes through for us as a member of the executive committee and interim president. Thank you, Susan, so much for help guiding our way and being a part of this journey with us for the time that you have and the dedication you continue to serve to our board. Finally, to everyone joining us tonight, we're so grateful for your time and your interest. We have grantees, and if you know of others who are part of doing great work, and we will list that information out on how we can continue to think about the future, but we welcome those thoughts and those interests. Even if that's also a question that you have, you can put that in chat for us as well. So please see the link in the chat room from Becca to complete a brief survey about your experience of the meeting tonight. I now want to turn it over to Kate for our Q&A selection.
That's great. Thank you so much. I just want to let everyone know that if folks have additional questions that they'd like to ask of us, we'll have just an open question, answer, comment time here for the next 15 minutes. If you don't have any questions or you need to leave, we really appreciate your time and thank you, and know that you can always reach out to us at any time outside of just this meeting. Becca's consolidated some of the questions that have come in, and so we'll take a few minutes just to let people get settled. And so if you'd like to leave now, please feel free to do so. If you'd like to stay on, please stay on, and we'll be happy and ready to answer any questions or hear any comments that you might have. Again, thank you so much for your time, and we'll look forward to staying connected in the year ahead.